how do you feel that the community ranks crime as the main issue in the community?
Well, historically, the community has ranked crime or fear of crime or public safety as one of their top concerns. Traditionally, that's one of the top concerns that they want from city government. So that's would be following the police department and other departments in the city.
Do you feel that the media plays a role in the way that the community feels about the crime, whether positive, negative, neutral?
Yeah, I think the media does have a role in that. I think some media outlets are more balanced in their reporting, and others are more sensationalistic. I'm not pointing a finger at any one of them, but it does seem there's a variance in how it's reported.
Out of 348 people, 283 of them said that they were concerned to extremely concerned about crime in the community. What would you say to those community members who are extremely concerned about crime?
Well, we're working very hard on crime issues, and we're trying to use our resources as best we can to focus on the specific issues of violent crime and things like that. Over the spring and summer, we had an increase in like gun crime and violent crime, so we're focused on our resources on that now. Whereas before that spike, we were probably focusing more on property crimes, burglaries, larcenies, things like that.
Do you think crime overall has increased since you joined the force, or do you think there's just spikes of crime, like the gun violence over the summer?
Well, violent crime ebbs and flows, but generally over the last 20 years, crime has decreased or stayed steady. If you go to our website, you can see the UCR numbers on different kinds of crimes, and they break it down into like 6 or 7 categories.
As a whole, in the survey, the community says that they feel that crime has increased. Why do you think that they're perceiving it this way?
Well, I think we had some high-profile shooting incidents in the spring and summer, and we did have 4 murders in 4 months. So that's unusual for Columbia. We average about 3 murders a year, and this year we've had 5. But we've had as many as 9 in a year since I've been here.
What do you think led to those 4 murders in that 4 months? Like, was there a specific incident that you guys, or a trend that you were seeing?
No, murders and homicides are very hard to predict when and where they'll happen. It's just the circumstances that led to 4 in 4 months. I don't think any of the murders were related.
What does CPD do to encourage the community to report crime?
Well, we have Crime Stoppers. We also have our website. You can report crime online, like nonviolent crime and lesser crime. We have our 911 center. We have non-emergency lines. You can walk in and report a crime. And we also encourage people to get involved in Neighborhood Watch and volunteering. And I think Parks and Recs Department also has like a park patrol. They can volunteer to patrol the parks.
Many people at one of the most recent mayor task force meetings said that they feel there's a disconnect between the police and the public. Do you feel there's a misconception between the community and the police force?
I wasn't at the meeting, so I can't comment on it.
Do you think there is any gap between the police force and the community, and is there like a
Well, probably not the community as a whole, but probably certain segments of the community think there's a disconnect. I can't speak for them, but they probably feel that way.
On the survey, more than 80% of the people surveyed said that they were afraid of becoming a victim of a crime. Why do you think so many people feel unsafe in the community?
I don't know. I haven't seen the survey or how it was worded.
The question was just, are you afraid of becoming a victim? Or, one of them was, have you been a victim of a crime? Do you know anyone that has been a victim of a crime? Or are you afraid of becoming a victim of a crime? Those are 3 separate questions.
Right. I think that's just a normal fear people have of that they could become a victim of a crime. Yeah, I think it's just a normal fear that people have.
Are the police doing anything to lessen the fear of crime in the community, especially since the summer, all of the murders that we had?
Well, yeah, we use geographic policing and community policing to target the specific problems, and we do as much proactive policing as we can, getting out and patrolling. But generally, police work boils down to reacting to what crimes have occurred. You can't tell how many crimes you've prevented because they didn't happen.
Can you speak about a little bit more? I know that when the first shooting happened on June 15th. I talked to Candy Corman of the downtown unit,
Mhm.
and she said that they were focusing specifically on downtown because that was now a problem area.
Mhm.
So once an area becomes a problem, do you guys like put more officers in that area, or do you guys change scheduling, or how exactly does it work?
Yeah, the command staff and the commanders and sergeants in each of the areas, they're constantly evaluating um, what's going on in their beats and sectors and what resources they have extra or to redeploy from other areas to address crime problems. And they probably every day they're probably thinking of ways how they can um, impact crime or problems in their areas.
More than 50% of the people on the survey said that they felt that drugs and alcohol are the main issues of crime in the community. Do you think that that's true, or do you don't know?
I don't have any statistics on that, but drugs and alcohol play a large part usually in all of our like violent occurrences.
Is there anything that the police specifically can do to fix the problem or help with the problem, or is that more of a schooling or a home issue?
I think it's a societal problem, drug and alcohol abuse, and it's not anything that police we can focus on it, but to have a greater impact, it takes the community attention and focus to do that.
We had a comment section where people could write whatever they want, and they felt that there's a drug and alcohol problem in Douglas Park specifically. Can you comment on that at all?
Well, historically, Douglas Park has been in the center of the central city, kind of beat 20, and I think recently, since we had a two-man active patrol unit that's basically centered there and around Douglas Park, I think it's become much less of a problem. I think historically there has been some alcohol and drug problems in Douglas Park, but we're working to address those.
And when did you guys start to have the two-man patrol? Was it after an incident, or?
Oh, that was I think in May, or April of 2012 is when they started that.
One respondent said that Columbia should decriminalize small amounts of marijuana. That might solve some of the problems. Is this something that the police force would welcome, consider at all, or?
Well, I think our city ordinance already is lesser punishment than state ordinance or state law, and we don't comment or make policy on that, or for or against it. We just enforce the laws as they're passed.
One respondent specifically said that she is afraid to leave her house after 7 p.m. because she doesn't want to go out at night alone, and said that Columbia is a much different place than when she moved here 9 years ago. What would you say to her specifically, or people that are afraid to leave at night by themselves?
I think that's a matter of perception there. The crime rates in Columbia have either stayed the same or gone down usually. And so I think that's just a matter of perception there. Columbia is as safe as it ever was. We have had spikes of violent crime or spikes of property crimes, but pretty much it's just the same as it always been. It's not radically different crime-wise. I believe our population has grown in the last 20 years. There's a lot more people out, that's for sure.
And you guys do take into account those numbers per capita when you guys are figuring out your different crime rates?
Yeah, the crime rates are tabulated per, I think, 1,000 people.
I know that there's been a lot of talk about gang violence lately, and especially around some of the different shootings. What is CPD doing to eliminate gangs in Columbia?
Well, we have our street crimes unit, and our detectives are working with Boone County Sheriff, the MU Police Department, and other agencies in the area to address gang violence and gun crime in general. Whenever we do have a gun crime or a homicide or anything like that, we try to focus maybe not just on the people involved in it, but the circumstances leading up to that. Sometimes you can focus on that and get more of cast a broader net.
Have you guys or any of the other forces learned anything over the last few months about gang violence in Columbia, or any specific gangs in Columbia after?
I can't discuss the specific details.
And do you know how many gangs are active in the community right now?
I think at the Violent Crime Task Force the other night, they said there's 4 or 5 active gangs in Columbia that they know of.
Do you know the percentage of crime attributed to gangs in the community?
No, I don't have numbers on that.
Now, how hard is CPD fighting to add more staff to?
Oh, well, the chief has asked, for extra personnel, both civilian and sworn personnel, and that goes through the budget process through city council, and this year I believe we got 2 or 3 new positions, depending on how you look at it. I guess people have been looking at it different ways. So that's what the budget process allowed this year, and that's what they provided us.
Can you explain the civilian versus sworn in?
Yeah, so a civilian personnel would be support personnel for the officers. It'd be secretaries, typists, evidence custodians, community service aides, people that aren't in uniform and can make arrests. So you can't just add sworn personnel, officers, without supervision and, the necessary support personnel, civilians.
What is CPD's policy regarding checkpoints during the day and at night? I know this is kind of not related, but several people felt that money and resources were being used on checkpoints when they could be used on...
Most of our DUI and DWI checkpoints, and then the recent couple of safety checkpoints we do, almost all that is grant funded, either from the Missouri Department of Transportation or from federal grants. So it takes manpower, but all that, all the pay and stuff that goes into that is usually from a grant, either state or federal.
How often are those scheduled? Are they pretty typical? Or?
Usually it depends on the grant. The grant will have the timing or how many you have to have within a certain amount of time.
Some of the respondents from our survey think that Chief Burton is the problem and that he isn't specifically addressing the gang and gun violence. Can you comment about how the department feels about this internally?
No, I can't.
Okay. And then some people said that Burton and Mike Mathis from city, genuinely do not care about the violence. That's kind of like...
I don't think that's true whatsoever.
Okay. Do you have a comment on that, or...
No, I'll let them speak for themselves.
That's all that I have from this survey. Is there anything else that you want to add about the recent violence or your efforts to...
Just that we, as a department as a whole, from the officer up to the chief, we're working very hard to address these concerns, and I'm very proud of their work, and they go out and do it every day.